Hi everyone, welcome to my channel, and today we're going to take a look at another horrible case with you. A double life. All world religions and nationalities have the same attitude to family values. A family is a home in which all its inhabitants should be comfortable, regardless of age and gender. Therefore, it should be built on love, respect, trust, and understanding. Family is the source of life. Parents, by their own example, instill in their children important postulates for the continuation of the family and traditions. Many people strive to create a strong and friendly family in which there is a sense of community and harmony. But not everyone succeeds. Sometimes people, creating a marriage, enter into destructive relationships. These ties destroy not only them, but also those who are around, and they tend to be very vulnerable. Hollywood movies show perfect love, full of tenderness and sincerity. Beautiful and strong men literally carry their beloved women in their arms. But reality, as we know, is different from the picture on the screen. This story is about a terrible tragedy that happened in one Indian family. The happiness of one turned into misfortune for the other, towards dreams. Jessica Patel was born on September 16, 1983. Her family lived in a Hindu community in Leeds, West Yorkshire, England. She was the eldest child, so she grew up diligent and obedient from childhood. The girl studied well, helped around the house. At the same time was cheerful, had a perky character. Jessica had many friends, but she especially emphasized Mitesh. The boy was 3 years older than her. Unlike her, he was modest and shy. The children often played with each other. As she grew up, the girl blossomed, becoming more and more beautiful. Like many other peers, she dreamed of falling in love with a worthy man to have a happy family with a bunch of kids, just like the heroes of her favorite movies. Nevertheless, the fantasies of the young beauty did not prevent her from being intelligent and purposeful. She wanted to be independent, to be established in life. Therefore, in 2002, she entered De Montfort University in Leicester. 4 years later, she continued studying pharmacy at the University of Manchester. There again, Jessica began to communicate with Mitesh, who by chance studied at the same faculty. While the young people did not see each other, the young man matured, became confident and handsome. Gradually, their friendship developed into romantic feelings. Mitesh showered the girl with compliments and gifts, was very attentive and caring. However, the bright streak was suddenly replaced by a dark one. Life presented a serious test for Jessica. Her mother died of an incurable disease. The grief-stricken daughter took the loss of a native person hard. Mitesh supported his beloved in everything, did not leave one with bad thoughts. During this time, the relationship of the couple became stronger. Once Jessica confessed to her sister that she finally found a reliable shoulder. It seemed that her boyfriend was perfect in everything. Happy marriage. In 2008, Mitesh Patel asked the girl's father for permission to marry her, according to all Hindu rules. The father did not particularly like the candidacy of the future husband of his daughter. In addition, he believed that it is too early to marry. But Jessica tried to convince him otherwise. And in July 2009, their marriage took place. The ceremony was held in the garden of the parental home of the bride. Family life of the newlyweds seemed as beautiful as the wedding. Soon, however, Mitesh's behavior changed. He became aloof and cold. Jessica complained to her sisters that she began to feel lonely. In addition, the intimate life of the newlyweds left much to be desired. After the wedding, they did not have intimacy for about 10 months. All this was very upsetting for the young wife. She could not understand what happened to the former feelings, looking for a problem in herself. In 2010, Jessica graduated from university. Now she had the opportunity to start a career as a pharmacist. In short, live and be happy. Prosperity, higher education, a beloved husband. Except that Mitesh's attitude deteriorated. The man became bossy and suspicious, controlled his wife's every move. In February, her family suffered another grief. Her grandfather fell ill. His health was deteriorating every day. The end was imminent. While the whole family spent the last days by his side, his beloved granddaughter visited him only rarely. Sister Manal later confessed that her husband did not allow Jessica to stay with her parents for a long time, and in general, often go anywhere. On this ground between the spouses, there was a conflict. The young woman did not understand what earned such distrust, which openly informed Mitesh. However, he became more angry and hit the unfortunate woman in the face. The young people came from traditional Indian families where the head of the family has the final say, so she had no choice but to obey the man. Loneliness in marriage. One day, Jessica shared her concerns with her family. She said that she suspected her spouse of cheating. According to her, every time Mitesh talked on the phone, he went to another room. Sometimes he did not go to bed until late at night, spending long periods of time alone. In 2012, the wife's assumptions were confirmed. She accidentally saw in her husband's phone love correspondence. Hoping to gain support, Jessica found nothing better than to tell about everything to Mitesh's cousin. They had communicated well earlier, so the young woman was counting on help or advice to save the family. However, Mitesh's brother brushed it off, making it clear that since her husband was cheating, it was all her own fault. This situation deprived Jessica of understanding from her husband's relatives. In parallel, he forbade her to seek comfort in the arms of her sisters. It was clear that Mitesh was hiding something. He was afraid to lose the authority and respect not only of his family, but also of the local community, so he restricted his wife's communication in every possible way, hoping for a miracle. In 2014, Mitesh and Jessica moved to Linthorpe, a suburb of Middlesbrough, North Yorkshire, away from the family. The couple bought a spacious house with many rooms, made renovations. A year later, they rented a premises in which they opened their own pharmacy. Jessica believed that the move would be the beginning of a new life. Relations between them did become warmer. The only thing missing was children. During the 6 years of their life together, the woman could not get pregnant. Mitesh began to hint that if this did not happen, he would be forced to leave her. Therefore, in October 2015, she decided to resort to IVF. The first few attempts were not successful. The woman became nervous and increasingly depressed. Her condition was aggravated by taking hormones. In addition, instead of the expected care and warmth, Mitesh became distant again. He pretended to be a courteous husband only in public, and when he returned home, he would not let the phone out of his hands. He could snap. Nervous tension reached the limit, as a result of which the wife could not stand it and suggested separation. She told her husband that she was disappointed in him and unhappy in the marriage. The man's response surprised her. He began to assure her that he loves her, and in time everything will get better, and the best way to strengthen family ties will be a baby. Jessica believed his words. She had not heard anything like that for a long time, so after receiving a small portion of attention, she calmed down. Mitesh convinced her that he wanted children and a complete family, only did not tell her that for this he had assigned a special role to his spouse. On May 9, 2018, the Patel couple received great news. 3 embryos were successfully fertilized. Their transfer was scheduled for next month. This meant that soon, with the successful development of events, they would become parents. The future mom was over the moon. She was so happy that she hurried to tell her family about everything. Everyone was looking forward to the replenishment. Except that it did not happen. A few days later, Jessica was not. Mysterious murder. On the evening of May 14, 2018, the emergency service received a call. The caller turned out to be Mitesh Patel, who found his wife's dead body wrapped in duct tape at home. Gasping with excitement, the man said that he left home to buy something to eat and to see the guys at work, to pick up his laptop. When he returned home, he found his house burglarized and his wife lying unconscious. Sobbing, he added that the woman's skin was very cold and dark marks could be seen on her neck. The dispatcher informed Patel that help was close at hand, with a police unit on its way. When officers arrived on scene, they found the woman's body on the living room floor. Her wrists and ankles were bound with duct tape, and a bag from the grocery store was lying nearby. Unfortunately, there was nothing the paramedics could do to help. Jessica Patel was murdered. Investigators had to figure out what motivated such a brutal crime. The house was turned upside down, and closet drawers were gutted. The criminals were clearly looking for something to eat, as they even ripped up the mattress of the couple's bed. Then jewelry and cash were discovered missing. Everything pointed to a robbery. Moreover, the husband of the murdered woman was convinced that the house had been broken into by robbers. In his statement, Mitesh said that on the unfortunate day he worked his morning shift, then worked out at the gym and came home. After work, his spouse returned around 7 p.m. The man volunteered to go get a pizza and left the house at 7:44 p.m. Thanks to a CCTV camera at a local pizzeria, it was possible to confirm his words. It captured Patel placing the order. He was friendly with the staff and had a relaxed demeanor. Before leaving the establishment, he called his wife to tell her that he would be back soon, but did not get through. On the way out, Mitesh decided to stop at a pharmacy, so he stayed longer than he had planned. At 8:50 p.m., he returned home and saw a horrible picture: scattered belongings and a bound wife. Neighbors were no less shocked by what had happened. The neighborhood where the couple lived was considered one of the most prosperous and peaceful. Nothing criminal had ever happened in the neighborhood in its history. Jessica's autopsy revealed that the cause of death was strangulation. The attacker initially used a bag, after which he wielded his bare hands. Finally, probably to be sure of the victim's demise, he used an electrical cord as a ligature. Since no signs of forced entry were found, the investigation put forward an initial version. The victim knew the attacker and let him into the house herself, an inconsolable widower. As soon as Jessica's family learned about her death, her father, along with her sisters, immediately came to support her unhappy husband. No wonder, because in such terrible moments the family must stick together. They tried to comfort Mitesh as best they could. Despite the fact that the relationship between the spouses was not always simple, the relatives of the deceased embraced the inconsolable son-in-law and tried to find the right words. They themselves were in deep sorrow and agonized in conjecture. Who and why took away from the family favorite daughter, sister, and wife? However, the police seemed suspicious of the robbery, despite its apparent obviousness. After searching the house, the officers found some curious clues, thanks to which the criminal was soon apprehended and brought to trial. In the establishment of the truth also played a big role in the application on the victim's cell phone, monitoring the state of health of its owner. 3 days after Jessica's murder, the lead investigator in the case contacted the victim's father, who was still near Mitesh. The official asked the woman's relatives to return home so as not to interfere with the investigation. He promised to give more details later. In fact, detectives were about to detain the suspect in the case, Mitesh Patel. There were quite good reasons for his arrest. It turns out that during the search of the house was found a hard disk from a video surveillance camera, which was installed in front of the front door. The device was in a suitcase under the bed. It was later determined that someone had damaged it just a few minutes before the police arrived. The next find was a photograph hidden under the double bottom of the couple's nightstand. It shows Mitesh in an embrace with another man named Amit. In addition, footage from a camera installed in a house across the street showed that on May 14th, the only people who went in and out of the Patel family home were the couple themselves. The footage shows Mitesh returning at 3:30 in the afternoon and never leaving the house again. Jessica did arrive at the end of the workday, parked the car, and entered the building at 7 p.m. The man then left for the pizza place at 7:44 p.m. and returned at 8:50 p.m. No one else but them was in the lens, which meant only one thing. Mitesh was the potential perpetrator, a mystery behind 7 seals. Patel became the prime suspect, but there was no direct evidence against him. So the detectives continued the investigation. During the investigation, the main secret was revealed, which Mitesh so carefully hid from family and friends. Jessica was right when she suspected her husband of cheating, but only it is not known for sure whether she guessed that her husband liked exclusively men. Apparently, marriage to a woman was necessary as a cover for the real orientation. The happiness of Jessica, who was by his side for many years, he cared the least. It turns out that 2 years after the wedding, Mitesh met Amit. But the latter, unlike him, did not hide his preferences, despite the fact that he was also a native of an Indian family. The men immediately liked each other and began to meet secretly. Leaving on a business trip, the exemplary-looking spouse spent time with his lover. In 2016, Amit left for Australia, but their romance continued. In the head of Mitesh, a terrible plan was born. Together with her lover, they wanted to not only start a family, but also become same-sex parents using Jessica's embryos and a surrogate. In his message, Patel revealed that the spouse was undergoing IVF. That's when he asked Amit if they will be together after that, to which Amit replied that it all depends on the outcome of the procedure. While communicating, Mitesh made it clear that sooner or later, there will come a time when there will be no obstacles in their relationship. In a recent message, he wrote, "Jessica's days are numbered." It was later revealed that the treacherous spouse was taking drugs that affected childbearing. All this he did in order not to have intimate relations with his wife. The investigation has established. Investigators were also able to reconstruct Mitesh's search history. The man's requests on the internet were strikingly eloquent. How to get rid of his wife, Hindu funeral, the procedure for obtaining insurance payments for the murder of a spouse. In fact, Jessica's life was insured for £2 million. After her death, her husband planned to cash in the insurance policy and use the proceeds to buy a property in Australia. In recent weeks, Patel had been searching for a suitable home. He wanted to create comfortable conditions for the new family and carefully prepared for it. During the study of the spouse's cell phones, in addition to the denunciatory correspondence, the investigators focused their attention on an application that counted the number of steps taken by the owner of the smartphone for the day. It was found that since 8:04 p.m., Jessica had not moved again. However, after 15 minutes, her phone had already recorded a movement of 14 steps. Apparently, these were her last movements, or someone simply moved the device. As for Mitesh's activity, his phone showed high physical activity readings just prior to his wife's murder. His heart rate was higher than his typical rate. There were sudden ascents and descents of stairs between 7:44 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. Apparently, at this point, he was staging a burglary by throwing things around the house. And before calling 911, Patel went upstairs to hide evidence, a hard drive from a surveillance camera. In the safe of the pharmacy the couple owned, police found stolen jewelry and £25,000, as well as a couple of gold bars, all of which the widower said had gone missing from the house during the robbery. Also found there was a skein of duct tape similar to that used to wrap the victim's arms and legs. The torn end of the tape matched the one that was taken as evidence from Jessica's body. Apparently, it was with the goal of getting rid of the evidence that Mitesh stopped by work the evening after the pizza party. Although the man had been planning the crime for several years, he was extremely careless in his approach to the crime and left a mess everywhere. There was no doubt about his guilt. On top of that, the genetic examination of the material collected from under the fingernails of the murdered woman determined the DNA of the spouse. There were also scratch marks on Mitesh's neck, which he did not even try to hide, claiming that he had fallen. The trial and life afterward. Patel did not admit his guilt either during the investigation or the subsequent trial. He said that he did communicate with Amit, but everything that happened was a big coincidence. The trial of the accused lasted 3 weeks. The picture of what happened was established. The husband attacked his wife as soon as she entered the house. She fought back and scratched, but the forces were unequal. Mitesh had initially chosen a different method to kill his wife. A large dose of insulin was found in her blood, which could have been fatal, but much later than the perpetrator expected. An overdose of insulin causes coma and subsequent death. However, anything could have happened during this time. Eventually, the criminal's plan could have been thwarted. So Mitesh decided to finish Jessica off by putting a bag over her head. To make sure his wife was finally dead, he strangled her with his hands and then used a cord. As physical evidence, the prosecution showed empty ampoules that were found in Patel's laptop bag. It took him 20 minutes to take the life of a woman who had been by his side for years and shared the same shelter. The man showed incredible cruelty towards her. He then tied up his wife's hands and feet, making it look like a robbery. Afterward, he drove to the pizza place like nothing happened and even called her. Jessica's family could not believe what they heard. Both sides of the family were in complete shock. No one would listen or believe Jessica when she was looking for help and support. No one even stepped in to try to figure out what was going on in the family. Except perhaps Jessica's sisters, but there was little they could do, because they were in an unequal position. It took the jury 2 hours to reach a verdict. On December 5, 2018, the court sentenced Mitesh Patel to life in prison with a right to parole after 30 years. At the end, the judge voiced his thoughts that it doesn't look like the man has any remorse. In all likelihood, the only person Mitesh truly felt sorry for was himself. It is unlikely that the family will ever forgive the man for the sin he committed. They pray for Jessica every day and remember her. According to Hindu beliefs, her soul must be reborn. Since she suffered a lot in life and was unhappy, but remained a good person, in the next incarnation, she will be rewarded. At least that is the comfort of her loved ones, who have nothing else to do but mourn and hope for a reunion after death. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe to my channel. There are many shocking stories ahead of you.